Equatorial Guinea is one of the most unusual countries in Africa. It is small in land area, split between a mainland region and distant islands, and it is the only fully sovereign country on the African continent where Spanish is the main official language. Its name suggests a country sitting directly on the equator, yet the equator itself does not cross the mainland or its largest island. Instead, it passes through the country's territorial waters near its southern island, Annobón. This is a place shaped by geography, colonial deals, oil discoveries, and one of the world's longest ruling presidents. On paper, Equatorial Guinea is among Africa's richest countries per person because of petroleum. In daily life, that wealth has been distributed extremely unevenly, creating a sharp contrast between national income statistics and the lived reality of many citizens. The country covers about 28,000 square kilometers, making it smaller than many provinces or states around the world. But its geography is complicated. Equatorial Guinea has two main parts. The mainland region is called Río Muni, bordered by Cameroon to the north and Gabon to the east and south. This mainland is where most of the population lives, and it contains Bata, the country's largest city, as well as Ciudad de La Paz, the new capital since January 2026. Then there is the island region. Bioko, formerly known as Fernando Pa, lies in the Gulf of Guinea and is home to Malabo, the former capital and still one of the country's most important urban centers. Far to the southwest is Annobón, a small island closer to São Tomé and Príncipe than to the mainland. This fragmented layout matters because it has shaped politics, identity, and administration. Bioko is not just an island, it is historically and culturally distinct. The Bubi people are indigenous to Bioko and remain the country's second-largest ethnic group, though they make up only about 6.5% of the population. The majority of Equatorial Guinea's people, more than 85%, are Fang, a group spread across the mainland and neighboring countries. With an estimated population of about 1.85 million in 2025, Equatorial Guinea is demographically dominated by the Fang, and that dominance has deeply influenced its political history. The movement of the capital from Malabo on Bioko to Ciudad de La Paz on the mainland also reflects a long-running tension. Should the country's political center sit on its historic island capital, or closer to the mainland majority? Long before European arrival, the region was inhabited by indigenous communities, including Pygmy groups who are among the first confirmed inhabitants of the area. Later, Banta-speaking peoples migrated into the region, including ancestors of groups that remain important today. European involvement began in the late 15th century, when the Portuguese explorer Fernando Pa reached the area in 1472. For centuries, Portugal had influence over islands and coastal zones in the Gulf of Guinea. But Equatorial Guinea's modern colonial path took a decisive turn in 1778, when the Treaty of El Pardo transferred territories in the Bight of Biafra from Portugal to Spain. That agreement set the foundation for what would later become Spanish Guinea, one of Spain's few African colonies south of the Sahara. Spanish rule gave Equatorial Guinea its most distinctive linguistic legacy. Today, Spanish is the main official language, while French and Portuguese are also official. This makes the country stand out in a region where French, English, Portuguese, and many African languages dominate public life. Spanish influenced education, law, administration, and religion, and Equatorial Guinea still maintains strong educational and cultural ties with Spain. The country has some of the highest literacy rates in sub-Saharan Africa, with adult literacy reported above 95% and youth literacy even higher. But language alone does not make Equatorial Guinea culturally Spanish. Its identity is layered: Fang, Bubi, Islander, Mainlander, African, Hispanic, and Central African all at once. That combination makes the country unique, but also politically complex. Equatorial Guinea gained independence from Spain in 1968, but independence did not bring stability or open democracy. The country's first president, Francisco Macías Nguema, soon built one of Africa's most brutal post-colonial dictatorships. In 1972, he declared himself president for life. His rule was marked by repression, violence, purges, and economic collapse. Many educated citizens fled or were killed, institutions deteriorated, and fear became a central feature of political life. The early promise of independence was replaced by a deeply personalized system of power. In 1979, Macías was overthrown in a coup led by his nephew, Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo. Macías was executed, and Obiang took power. Rather than creating a democratic break with the past, the coup began another era of authoritarian rule. Teodoro Obiang has remained president since 1979, making him one of the longest-serving leaders in the world. Foreign observers have widely characterized his government as authoritarian and highly personalized. Elections are held, but the political system is not considered genuinely competitive by major democracy and human rights monitors. Power is concentrated around the presidency, the ruling elite, and family-linked networks. Freedom House has repeatedly ranked the country among the worst in the world for political rights and civil liberties, while press freedom organizations have criticized the government's treatment of journalists and dissent. This matters because Equatorial Guinea's story is not only about geography or oil. It is also about how institutions can be shaped around one ruling structure for decades, limiting accountability even when national wealth rises. The turning point in the country's modern economy came in the mid-1990s, when major offshore oil reserves transformed Equatorial Guinea into one of sub-Saharan Africa's largest oil producers. American oil companies became especially important operators in the sector, and petroleum quickly became the backbone of government revenue. In statistical terms, the change was dramatic. A small country with a modest population suddenly had enormous export earnings, pushing income per capita to some of the highest levels in Africa. But oil wealth can be deceptive. Per capita figures divide national income by population, but they do not show who controls the money, how it is spent, or whether ordinary people receive better services, jobs, and infrastructure. In Equatorial Guinea, the oil boom created national wealth without broad equality. This is the central contradiction of Equatorial Guinea, a wealthy country where many people have not benefited proportionally from that wealth. Oil revenues have funded prestige projects, new roads, government buildings, and the development of Ciudad de La Paz, the planned capital on the mainland. Yet the country continues to face serious development challenges. Health outcomes have improved over time, with under-5 mortality falling significantly from 1990 levels, but the rate remained troubling in 2021, when 7.7% of children died before reaching age 5. The country's Human Development Index ranking is relatively high compared with much of sub-Saharan Africa, second only to Gabon in the region according to the article's framing, but its global ranking still reflects deep gaps. Wealth exists, but its distribution remains the real question. The shift of the capital from Malabo to Ciudad de La Paz is one of the most symbolic recent changes. Malabo, on Bioko Island, was historically important because colonial administration and later national government were centered there. But it was geographically separated from the mainland, where most citizens live. Ciudad de La Paz, located in Río Muni, represents an attempt to move the political center closer to the country's demographic core. It also reflects the government's ambition to build a modern administrative city almost from scratch. Planned capitals often carry political messages. They can signal unity, modernization, or a break with older colonial geography. In Equatorial Guinea, the move also highlights the tension between island history and mainland population, between inherited colonial structures and state-led reinvention. Equatorial Guinea's international identity is unusually broad for such a small country. It is a member of the United Nations and the African Union, linking it to global diplomacy and continental politics. It is also part of OPEC because of its oil production, and it belongs to the Francophonie despite Spanish being its main official language. Since Portuguese became an official language in 2010, the country has also been associated with the Community of Portuguese Language Countries, known as the CPLP. These memberships show a strategy of diplomatic flexibility. Equatorial Guinea positions itself across multiple language blocks: Hispanic, Francophone, Lusophone, African, and oil exporting. This gives the country international platforms, but external recognition has not erased concerns about corruption, human rights, trafficking, and political repression. To understand Equatorial Guinea, it is not enough to call it Africa's Spanish-speaking country or an oil state. It is both, but it is also a country shaped by separated territories, ethnic majorities and minorities, colonial bargains, post-independence violence, and decades of concentrated power. Its oil wealth has made it statistically rich, while inequality and authoritarianism have limited the benefits for many citizens. Its literacy rates and official multilingualism point to real strengths, while its human rights record reveals severe political constraints. Its new capital suggests modernization, but also raises questions about priorities and governance. Equatorial Guinea is a reminder that national wealth, democratic freedom, and human development do not automatically rise together. Sometimes they move in very different directions. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.